Hey guys, it's Eric Dufault with Keller Williams, Cape Cod and the Islands, and I just want to do a quick video for anyone planning on buying a home, whether it's your first time or maybe you haven't bought one in a long time, or maybe you're selling your home and you want to know what the steps are in the buying process. This is a quick breakdown. What I'll usually do whenever I get new clients, I will sit down with them and kind of go step by step as far as what they can expect as we move forward, looking for homes, finding homes, and just going through the process. So I figured, why not do a video on this and put it out to you guys? One of the first things is when you're shopping for a home, and it's kind of a cliche, but it's really true, is location, location, location. The thing is, you can always modify a home. You can change it. You can work on the yard. You can do additions and stuff like that, but you can't change the location. That's the one fixed thing that cannot be changed once you buy a home. So you can't change your neighbors, you can't change the neighborhood, you can't change the location, the zip code, anything like that. Wherever you decide to buy that home, obviously it's going to stay there. And with that, what I usually encourage people, you want to be in a neighborhood where the houses are a similar value or even a higher value. And that gives you more of a ability for the property to appreciate as it goes. Whenever you have the nicest, biggest house in the neighborhood, other houses aren't going to appreciate as fast, so you always want to look for a house that at least is kind of mixes in with the neighborhood, or maybe even the neighborhood's nicer than the average house in that neighborhood's nicer than what you're purchasing. Just something to keep in mind. Next thing, one of the first things you want to do before you even start shopping is get a pre-approval from a lender. If you need a lender, let me know. I can line you up. I work with a bunch of really, really good mortgage guys, mortgage girls. I can line you up with them, but what a pre-approval does, it defines exactly what your buying power is, what your limitations, depending on which type of loan you get. Just sometimes we'll go out and people will start shopping, and they'll assume that maybe they can afford more than they actually can. So we go and we start shopping, we start falling in love with different houses, and you find this house, and all of a sudden we go to get the pre-approval. Turns out you cannot afford that house. And all that time we spent shopping for homes, getting our hopes up, turns out we can't even get it. But there's also kind of the inverse of that, where you might think you can only afford a certain amount, but then it turns out you talk to the lender, and it turns out you can afford more. And you'd be surprised, even like $20,000, $30,000 can make a massive difference sometimes when you're shopping. And say you want to get something for $300,000 or below, but all of a sudden you go out there and it's such a competitive market and the houses are kind of not exactly what you're looking for. But you open that up and you get an extra $20,000, $30,000. All of a sudden there's a lot more on the market. Your options are there. And it's just get the pre-approval and you know exactly where you stand. You get that ahead of time. Anyone that works with me, I make them get that first thing. That way, we know exactly what we're looking. We have a defined amount that we can spend and we can get out and start shopping. Once we do find the right house, we're going to go ahead and make an offer. What happens when you make an offer? You're going to have to submit a bunch of different things. I have my people kind of go the extra mile. I add one thing, and sometimes it makes a huge difference, believe it or not. But when you submit an offer, it's kind of a rough draft. It is a legal document, but it outlines how much you're willing to spend for the home. Any changes or kind of contingencies you want to add, and you want to make sure you get inspected. You want them to fix something. You want them to address certain concerns. You want to close at a certain date. You want to get an inspection done by a certain date. But whenever you do a pre-approval, you have to submit the offer. Usually you have to give an earnest money check. Normally the average is around $1,000. That can vary, but normally it's an offer, $1,000 check. Top of that, you're going to need that pre-approval that we got from the lender to, let the seller know that, yes, I can afford the house that we're trying to purchase off of you. On top of that, there'll be a disclosure stating what my relationship is to you and how I'm looking out for you. And the last thing, it isn't necessary, but I always have my people do it. I have a personal letter written to the seller, and just kind of gives a background, what you love about the house, why you want to purchase it. And it goes from making you just a number and a date. If you're in a multiple offer situation, all of a sudden it becomes a little bit more personal. The people selling the home, it's obviously a very personal thing to them. And when you submit this letter and describe your situation, people might, it'll differentiate you. And I've seen even multiple offers, bidding wars, stuff like that. People will go for a lower offer because they have a connection just from reading that letter, and they can start to picture you in their home and who they're going to pass their home on to. So that's definitely something you want to look at do a personal letter to the seller when you submit everything else. Once you get your offer accepted, great day. It's always an awesome phone call to make. That's when we have to actually take that check. It gets cashed, and we got to get the wheels in motion. We got to start lining up an inspector. We got to talk to the bank. We got to start getting our ducks in a row, because the next thing we usually do is get the inspection done. And with the inspection, a lot of things can come up with a home. I work with a bunch of different inspectors. I can make recommendations if you need one. But with the inspection, normally you want to find anything that wasn't apparent when you made the offer. If anything comes to light, or systems need to be replaced, or structurally the house needs work, that's where you start negotiating. And there's nothing stating that the seller has to really do anything to the house, but you do have the right when you do the inspection to, if you find a certain amount of work or you find something that doesn't sit right with you can back out of the deal. What I usually tell my people, if there's something that we didn't notice, or there's something that's changed from when we made the offer to when the inspection is, then that's something we might want to address. But you always want to make sure you're comfortable with the house. And, if you don't have a ton of money to put into it, then you want to make sure the house is in good shape and you're not going to have to sink $10,000, $15,000 into it as soon as you move in. After that, we work towards a purchase and sales. And I know I said kind of the offer is like the rough draft. The purchase and sales agreement, we have an attorney draft it up, and it's kind of, it lines up and gets everything in a row. It's usually it can be anywhere from 7, 14, 20 pages long, but it goes into great detail as far as what the agreement is between you and the seller. And it's kind of all the negotiations put together. It's the final agreement. And once we have the purchase and sale signed, we hand that off and things start moving in the back, and then you're almost on your way. When you do the purchase and sales as well, normally you got to put in a lot bigger earnest money deposit. So you did the $1,000 check with the offer. When you do a purchase and sales, you're going to probably, sometimes I've seen up to 3, 5, 10% of the purchase price. But it's going to be a few $1,000s normally. So those are the two places where you need to actually submit check and put money towards the property. Gives the seller peace of mind, gives you peace of mind, keeps everyone moving forward. And I get a question a lot of time, where does that money go to? That money will go to normally your down payment. So let's say you submit $1,000 with the offer and another $9,000 with the purchase and sales. That's $10,000. That'll go towards your down payment. Then you just got to kind of make up the difference between that $10,000, whatever your down payment's going to be. So we've signed the purchase and sales, and we're starting to prepare towards moving you in. Everything's moving forward. The lenders are working on the back end. Very important during this time, you do not want to change your credit. You don't want to go out and buy a bunch of furniture on credit. You don't want to go out and buy a new vehicle. I know you know the house, you want to start shopping and finding stuff, but you don't want your credit to change at any point. You want to leave everything as it is because, you don't want to change jobs. You don't want to do anything major where it would affect your credit and change what the lender has to do. Then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're at the closing day. When you show up to closing, normally you're going to have to kind of make up the difference, bring a checkbook. You always got to remember to bring your ID, and it's a really cool day. You get to actually meet the seller if you haven't met them already, meet the other realtor, meet the other attorneys, sign your life away, and usually it's a pretty cool day. Once it's all said and done, you can take a deep breath, and the house is yours. That's about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I didn't run out of breath or go on too long. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys found it helpful, and if you need any help buying a home or you just have questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.